Hey Paisanos, it is I, Mickey Saturn, and what we're going to look at today is Super Mario Brothers, the classic game, 1985, the same year that the NES came out, the Famicom in Japan, and as I've mentioned in other videos, I often try to do games that aren't so famous, games that could benefit from a little more exposure. And that's not the case with this game. It's probably the most famous console video game ever, if not perhaps the most famous video game at all, although there are arcade games like Pac-Man and Pong that maybe have more fame. But I decided that I'd like to do a series of videos about the 2D Mario games on the NES and the Super NES. And so, obviously, I got to start with the very first one. So let's get started. Alright, here we go. Now, what is there to say about this game that hasn't been said before? It's kind of hard to think of much to say. It's such a famous game. And this first stage, is just one iconic thing after another. But after thinking about it, I kind of started to think of things that I think about Mario that I don't hear a lot of other people say very much. And one of those things has to do with the way this game, and this whole franchise really, is in my opinion all about movement in a way that's kind of poetic. Or artistic, anyway. Oh, crud. There's a more elegant way to do that right there. And that. Think about this. Technologically, this is one of the first games to feature smooth, side-scrolling graphics. And I think it may actually be the first game to feature smooth side-scrolling. And it was released on the NES, and you had two buttons, and they use one of those buttons for jumping, which is obviously a move that has to do with mobility, right? And the other button is primarily used for running, to control how fast you move. And that really tells you how important the idea of moving through the levels, that you're running forward through the levels, how important that idea was to the developers of the game. And the game's other innovations, though, the way it's like a series of levels that are, uniquely designed. It's not like a board, the way you would have seen in like Donkey Kong or something like that, where the screen is just sort of like a static screen, and I missed my chance to get the one up there. It's not like a board like you would have seen in a lot of old arcade games, where it's like maybe it's a series of screens, but there's like just a few of them, 4 or something like that, and then it loops and gets harder. This game doesn't loop. It's not like you go through 8 levels and then you go through them again and there are even more enemies now or something. This is a game in which each level is its own unique thing. And that was revolutionary, and they played with that by hiding all kinds of secret content in the levels, and I'm just kind of blowing through these first few levels because I've played them a billion times, but it's fascinating that there are all kinds of little things that are hidden, like that invisible 1-up block in World 1-1 that you can get, and the fact that there's a warp zone over there if I had gone on that path to the top. And think about how advanced in a way that is, Of course, I went forward because I got tired of standing there. I should have stayed behind. But if you remember, that screen has that, row of blocks up there that look like the barrier to the level, but it's not the barrier to the level. In fact, you can ride that elevator up and jump up there in the section of the level that looks to be like your HUD or your score, and you can run along there. That's just fascinating in a way. Like, that's almost fourth wall breaking I would argue. That's like Hideo Kojima stuff. Like, oh, you thought that was black because it's the HUD displaying your info? No, it's black because it's an open space. And smartly, the game kind of gives you a clue that that's the case with the way that the 1-up in 1-2. Oh shoot, I should just gone for it. With the way that the 1-up in 1-2 is hidden, because it's also hidden in that same row of blocks up there. Now this level that I just went through is one of my favorite levels in the whole series, and it doesn't have a whole lot of secrets, but I really love the treetop levels in this game. I just thought they were very graphically appealing when I was younger. I always have trouble getting down from up here without accidentally running too far or jumping in the wrong way. Okay. And then these castle stages are cool, too, to think about, because this is one of the earliest uses, oh, shucks, of what we might call a boss. Oh, that stupid platform got in my way. It won't happen again. And even... unbelievable. And even the way everyone plays the game is kind of reflective of the idea that the game is about movement. Oh, shucks. Okay, well. Because, you know, this game has a score. But have you ever heard anyone talk about having the high score in Mario? I haven't. All anyone ever talks about is the speed run, right? They've done it the fastest. They're the fastest through the game. No! Did I just get a game over in World 1? It's crying shame, paisanos. I'm going back to where I was. I'm gonna pick this right back up. Alright, I'm back. Now, let's see if I don't do a little better. It's such a famous game, it's kind of embarrassing to die like that, but it's tricky to talk and play these more action-oriented games sometimes, I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, I just think the more I thought about it, the more I thought, you know, the main observation that I have, I guess, about the Mario franchise is that it's all about moving through an environment and kind of exploring that environment in a way that is beyond what was seen previously. Oh my gosh! There we go. You also see, I mean, that's one of the very first kind of boss monster ideas right there. So that's pretty interesting too. And that'll be a theme that I'll return to, that whole exploring the environment idea, over and over again, because it actually carries through for the entire series. The other thing that I've always noticed, or I noticed for the first time a while ago, is that the Mario the Mario games, have like a gameplay concept, or a kind of style of gameplay that they explore, and that it comes in pairs. So it's like the first game is this. The second game we didn't get in America for a long time. It's called The Lost Levels. It's very similar to this. Speaking of hidden things in the environment to explore. Vine. I remember finding that Vine when I was a kid and just being amazed. Anyway, it's very similar to this. And then you get, you know, this sense that Nintendo felt like that was, you know, all that they could think to do with that type of game. So they went on and did something totally different for Mario 3. But then Mario World is like a refinement of Super Mario 3. And then they felt like that was the most they could do with that. So the next Mario game technically is Yoshi's Island, but I kind of don't consider that a Mario game in a way, because you don't control Mario. I know that it's officially a Mario game, but The next game where you're controlling Mario, and this idea of Mario's movement through an environment being critical, is Super Mario 64, which transitions to 3D, and so now it's 3D movement in an environment. If you see what I mean, it's very interesting. And this pattern has persisted, because after Mario 64 they did Sunshine, after Sunshine they did Galaxy, after Galaxy they did Galaxy 2. Sunshine is the pair that goes with Mario 3. I'm sorry, Mario 64. And Galaxy and Galaxy 2 are obviously paired together. So now, you wonder what's coming next. If the pattern holds, we should be about to see a major change in the style of Mario. And at the time that I'm recording this, Nintendo hasn't revealed the new 3D Mario yet, but they're going to probably like next week. Week after next is E3. The big Nintendo Direct that's going to talk about this is promised before E3, so whatever that means. So I'm thinking probably next week, probably into next week, we'll start to get our idea of whether this pattern is going to continue to be true or not, But I expect that it probably will. They probably won't go back to Galaxy. I expect that we'll see a whole new evolution of the idea of Mario exploring a world somehow. And, it's all about movement and how that changes in these different settings. Anyway, that's most of what I had to say about Super Mario, especially the first game, Paisanos. Next we'll go ahead and do the Lost Worlds, even though that didn't come out here on the NES, but it's, from a game design standpoint, it makes sense to talk about it next. And then after that, we'll do the American Mario 2, which is kind of not really part of the series, but for tradition's sake, we'll talk about that. So kind of a whole different thing. And then, of course, Mario 3 and Mario World, and that's probably where I'll stop, because currently I don't have an N64 emulator or anything. And that'll get us through the first 4 proper Mario games, and it should be a lot of fun to check them all out. They're such good games. Anyway, alright, until next time, Paisanos. Wait, do you want to see World 2-4? Maybe I'll leave World 2-4 up. Let's see. See if I do better at this than I did at 1-4. There we go. Bowser's got nothing on me. That's a lie. Anyway, alright, until next time, Paisanos.